Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this is the sad tale of how could this happen? How can a PT 21 turn into a Cessna 310? It's a sad tale of woe, and there's also, give you a warning here, a cameo by Harrison Ford. And oh, by the way, I got my new shirts, the But I Digress, and I probably will digress in this because there's a lot of little points that I may digress. So here we go. How did this tragic event happen? Well, let me tell you. See, my son wanted to learn to fly. Yep, I'm an instructor in the Air Force. That's my son there, Mark. And he decided flying airplanes was cool. Well, of course, he had to get a little bit bigger. He had to reach the rudder pedals. But he did get bigger. And of course, all these things are tied to age as far as getting a private pilot's license, soloing a glider, and stuff like that. You can solo a glider at 14, private at 15, and we did these on the birthdays. And I had since I had been an instructor in the Air Force, I'd gotten my civilian ratings. At the time, you had to go through the whole process again. Now they finally realized that, man, if you got 1,000 hours of instruction time in the Air Force, maybe you do know how to be a CFI. But back then, they didn't. You had to go through the whole course. So I got my CFI, double I, and MEI, and I've kept them current for 45 years, but I was not a glider instructor. And it was easy for my son to start out in that. I towed him on all his flights in the L-19, and of course I towed other people. I was down in the Sky Soaring Club, and so we started out that way, and we both were learning gliders, and it was a lot of fun. So he soloed there, but now it came time that I wanted to teach him in powered flight. And I quickly realized looking at it that since I had my instructor ratings and I could instruct him, and we actually had a very good relationship, which I know of some airline pilot fathers who don't, and it didn't work out well, but we had a very good relationship, so it worked out. And I taught him through, prepared him for private, commercial, and instrument. But we started out in this 152, and I went down to Louisville to pick it up. And it has an ADF and an ILS in it, a fully IFR 152. And it was kind of funny. I flew the ILS down there. I'm digressing here. I flew the ILS down at Kirksville, and I could fly as fast as the little airplane would fly till I got to decision height at 200 feet. And then I had plenty of time to slow down and configure, which amounted to putting some flaps down if I wanted to. But that was kind of interesting. I was flying the 727 at the time, and waiting till you hit decision height to slow down was not an option in that aircraft for a number of reasons, including being stabilized. Okay, well, this served itself well for a while. So I got a 172 RG so he could get complex and retractable gear time. So we did that for a while, and he got his commercial license and instrument license, and now it's time to go on to school. And I told my son, you need something to fall back on. I had electrical engineering to fall back on, and that worked well during my furlough. So, you need something. He liked chemical engineering, so he got his degree in that. And he was chairman of the ALPA National Dangerous Goods Committee for a while, and he has testified in front of Congress, and it didn't involve women's kickback or any sort of nefarious affairs. But anyway, so he's down there. He gets into their flight department, so he picks up the rest of the sort of qualifications he needs, and I decided it's time to have fun. So I want to have a fun airplane. I'm going to get rid of the 172 RG. Well, it was good. It allowed me to go see my folks in Iowa City, from Lake in the Hills to Iowa City. It's about an hour flight. And my folks both got sick and died from cancer, but it allowed us to go there. Well, my wife's father kind of suddenly died right after this, and we were going to go to western Iowa, and that's a 3-hour trip in the 172, and it's not quite as much fun, but I'll get to why that is a very unfortunate event in just a minute. But I decided, okay, I want to have fun. I want to get a fun airplane to fly. So what am I going to get? Yeah, right. That I have never been able to even afford to put the gas in one of these, let alone have one. So that's nice. Okay, maybe if I have a total windfall, which it's getting a little late for that. No, this thing is not going to be in my future. All right, well, how about a PT-19? That looks like fun. It's, it's open cockpit. It's a World War II trainer. It's got character. Man, that looks like fun. And you can only see my mouth here, I guess. Or maybe I'll slouch down to work better. I didn't get this quite cropped right. But I decided, well, that was kind of interesting, but there's some other ones that were kind of interesting too. There's the PT-23. Well, I can get back up here a little bit. I'll adjust this here. Oh, I tell you, the fun of video production here. Okay, PT-23. That's when they put the radial engine on the PT-21. Now, Paul Poberezny had one for sale. And I looked for about a half an hour to find that picture of him and I standing next to it, and I couldn't find it. I got some 50,000 pictures, so it's lost there somewhere. But anyway, I went up to Oshkosh, went into his hangar, and I always thought Paul was kind of a teetotaler because he didn't allow alcohol, during the air venture. But boy, he had one nice bar in there, so I guess he wasn't a teetotaler. But anyway, I digress. Okay, get the shirt. Okay, I digress. But Buck Hilbert, who had the little airfield called the Funny Farm. Some of you guys may know him. He was a director in EAA. He's a great guy, passed away. But he says, I'm not sure if you want one of those PT-23s because they have a wooden spar, and it's with the age of the aircraft, it's just like a bunch of termites holding their hands together. So he kind of disparaged getting one of these. So I thought, well, I'll look around. Okay, the Volti vibrator here. Well, yeah, might be interesting. Unfortunately, it's not going to fit in my little port-a-port hangar. Of course, this guy isn't either the T-28, and he would be really expensive on putting fuel in him. Well, Stearmans are cool. That's a cool airplane, but yeah, once again, that's not going to fit in my hangar, and that was going to be an issue. And yeah, it looks like fun, but that's a big airplane. I want something that would be just a kind of a little more gentleman's aerobatics that I could have some fun with. Well, my wife was still pushing to go cross country, so I thought, well, Cessna 195, that's a cool airplane. And that actually did fit in my port-a-port hangar. About that much space, but it did fit. But crawling up into the thing, and I'm kind of tall, and that spar was hitting me in the back of the head, and I go, that's not too comfortable. But boy, that would have been a cool airplane, and it would have been reasonably good for cross country. And it's kind of a classy airplane to fly, but I still wanted to have something that might be just a little more enjoyable. Okay, when I was in high school, I saw Igor Stravinsky, I think his name was. He had his gyrocopters, and I was gonna build one of those. As a high school kid, you have no concept that maybe that's a little bit beyond your ability and financial abilities. But we looked at these. German company produced these. We went and got to fly it. I flew it, and I had my wife take a ride. Yeah, she thought it was kind of fun, but they were fairly pricey, and not terribly smooth as far as vibration, so I wasn't terribly excited. And she still wanted to be able to go cross country to visit her folks at a little higher speed. She didn't want to have some open cockpit thing, so I go, okay. How about a PT-26? Look at that. It's got a canopy. You can close it. It could be sort of IFR, although I'm not sure that was really a good idea. But she wasn't too sold on that. But I still wanted the PT-21/22 there. Yeah, I wanted one of those. That just was fun. And I'd flown several varieties of those. But she just wasn't excited about that. And then the fateful event happened. So, we're in Ottawa, Iowa, where my wife is from. My wife's a registered nurse. Her mother was also a nurse, and she was the head nurse at the hospital there. And of course, being the head nurse, all the doctors. It's a small town. There's the Dr. Jarrett's. There were two of them, father and son. And they had this Baron, and we were all there talking, and stuff like that. And they said, yeah, they had a Baron. It only took them 2 hours to get to DuPage, which is an airport just south of Lake in the Hills here. And my wife says, wait a minute. 2 hours to get to DuPage? Are you talking my DuPage? And he goes, yeah, it only takes 2 hours. And I'm going, no, quiet, don't say anything. Too late, die had been cast. She goes, we need one of those. We need a Baron. Well, I went out and flew a Baron, and I mean, it's a great airplane. It's really well built. It's a beautiful airplane. Lake in the Hills here, they're kind of a beach center here. So by wanting anything other than the beach, you're almost an outcast. But the trouble with this is it was crowded. And I went flying with an airline pilot friend of mine, and we were kind of shoulder to shoulder in there. And I go, this isn't very comfortable. And he says to me, he says, well, you know, in the third row of seats in a 310, you got more room than in the front here. So I go, really? Well, I had been in Cessna flight test. I liked the 310, so I thought, well, let me go look at 310. So I looked at quite a few 310s, and I settled on this real nice Q model. I got a pretty good price on it. The avionics was nothing. I had to do everything. Intercom. I put a 430 in it, which back then was a really nice radio package with the GPS, and improved that. And it was a real good airplane for me. Ran at Lena Peak for 15 years. Only replaced 2 cylinders in that entire time, and that was in the first couple of years. So that was probably the results. I know there's a good Lena Peak argument. We digress again. There's another good Lena Peak, Richard Peak argument, you know, but I've had very good luck with it on this 310. And my wife enjoyed it a lot. We used it, and we could get to her folks in the 2 hours, so it worked out well because after her father died, she wanted to be able to see her mother. So we went and saw her mother for quite a few years until she passed away at just a short time before the age of 90. Now, I talked about a cameo with Harrison Ford, and let me show you what that's all about. If you remember, Harrison Ford bought a PT-22, and he had a little issue with it. The Kenner engine there had a little problem with the, I think it was the float carburetor, and I'm not sure what exactly the issue is, but they kept saying that this was just a beautiful restoration, a beautifully restored airplane. I kept hearing that. And, most PT-22s, they were trainers, and they are pretty beaten up. I mean, you look at most of them, and they look pretty sick. Well, you can at the time get them for a reasonably good price because they are pretty beat up. But there was this one guy in I think it was Rochelle. I flew in there to look at his PT-22, and what he had basically done is he took the nameplate, which you can do, and you restore it from that. So the airplane was virtually scratch built, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. But he also wanted 90 grand for it at the time, which was a little pricey for me at the time for that sort of aircraft. So I kind of said, yeah, it's nice, but it's a little out of my price range. But they kept saying about Harrison Ford that this was an absolutely beautiful aircraft. Now, under the horizontal stabilizer there, you can kind of see it in the picture here. There's an N number. And after they said that, I got some of the pictures, and I blew that up. And I looked in my logbook, and I go, this was the airplane I had flown and didn't buy. And I had heard that they took it to somebody out on the West Coast. So 2 and 2 went together, and I go, I flew the airplane that Harrison Ford did not have a good time with. So that's the cameo with Harrison Ford there, for all those who are waiting with bated breath. Now, as the story continues, okay, my son gets hired by United Airlines, and he comes up to the point where he needs to check out in the Airbus 320, and I am a line check airman, so we arrange for that, and we also arrange for the local newspaper to do a little story on it. It got front page on the Sunday paper, so that was kind of cool. Down below me, that's my wife in the center. She came along as I'm checking out my son, so that was a lot of fun. And like I said, I put 15 years on the 310, but after I retired, there were 4 trips that were shut down because the FAA now likes to put icing from 0 to 230. Just put it all over the place, and that just shuts you out in this thing if you have a cloud in the sky. So I wanted something with no ice, so I sold my 310. Actually, I bought a very nice Turbo 310R before I sold this. So at one time, I actually owned 2 310s for a very short period. I guess that'd be a 620. But anyway, I sold my 310 to this very nice gentleman here. And it was kind of sad to watch it fly away for the last time. But I had my new 310, my Turbo 310R, and here we are in Denver. We're bringing it back. It was I bought it in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the of course it had no corrosion being in Scottsdale, but every piece of hose on that thing I had to replace. My first annual was $33,000. Replaced every hose, redid the mags. It's a typical thing happens on a first annual, and the boots, the DI system, the hose on it was just in horrible condition. In fact, one of the mechanics had a piece of the hose, and he said, "Yeah, it would just crumble in your hands." And he put a little pressure on it, and it crumbled in his hand. So I said, "Well, okay, I get that." So anyway, brought it back. It was kind of fun. We were flying into, I'm digressing, we were flying into Lake in the Hills, and it was getting late and dark, and the weather was going down. But we had the Cirrus weather and stuff, and we're checking around at the various airports. And of course, my son's an airline pilot too, so we're doing all this planning and what we're going to do and where we're going to go. And the crosswinds were a big limit. It was getting real windy, so it was a lot of fun planning and shooting the RNAV approach into Lake in the Hills down just about at minimums, just a little bit above. So it was a little more excitement than I really wanted in a brand new airplane, at least brand new to me. All right, so I get old. I get 65. I turned old, senile, and decrepit. So the airlines kick you out, and I could have flown a little bit longer. But young people, they they want your seat. It's one of the few careers. I guess it's probably like management where everybody's gunning for your job. So would you get out of the way? So anyway, I did. I had my nice final flight out of Maui there with a water cannon salute. Now, okay, I can finally actually afford the toy I want. And actually, I was able to keep my 310. I still have it, although insurance is getting to be the issue since I'm not getting any younger. But I got my brand new factory built Great Lakes biplane with 727, one of my favorite aircrafts, and KR, my wife's initials, Chris Rogers, and 2022 brand new airplane. I've got about 60 hours, I think, on it now. So, okay, I'm now just flying my fun little airplane for fun. They don't let me fly the big ones anymore. But my son had me come out to Denver, the United Airlines Training Center, and I got to fly with him on he was getting a 787 check ride, so I got to see, if I could still do it, and I did do a hand flown single engine Cat 2 approach, I think it was. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Still had a little bit of the abilities, but now in retirement. I've got my wife likes to call my hangar there my toy box. That's where I keep the toys. I got my Turbo 310R. It's not big enough for the Great Lakes. That's in another hangar I got. And I put the pontoon boat in there in the winter, and it's got all my toys. And my ham radio station I actually put out there because I'm out away from everybody, and nobody minds if I run power. I've got a Johnson Viking Thunderbolt for you hams out there. 2KW just with ease. But anyway, and I got my vet there. So that is the tale of how a PT-22 ended up to be a Cessna 310. So for the longest time, I would call my Cessna 310 a PT-22 with wife's influence. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting and enjoyable, and thanks for watching.